getting the word out. I think sort of jobs, Jessica's and mine and Eileen will be taking over for me for a little while, jobs are to have you guys like us on Facebook. It's social media. Social media is an important thing in today's world. And through those things, we can be able to tell you guys what to do on a weekly basis. We can send a weekly update. We can send weekly emails saying, this is your job this week. This is what you do. And so we have Lily Meyerson, who is here. She is a lawyer, and she is also a social media expert person, and she knows how to tweet. Which still freaks me out, personally. So we brought her here to tell us a little bit in general about what that's about and why it's important. And then she will take whoever's interested to her computer and show you exactly how to do it, which buttons to press. Am I right?
Yes. I'm actually I'm a recovering attorney. I'm now a social media strategist, but okay. I was an attorney in my past life.
Right. So I'm going to give it over to Hillary, who's going to tell us a few things. And please sign in, give us your information. That's how we can get it out to you guys. And then forward it on. You know, what I've been trying to say to everybody is forward it on to 26 of your friends, minimum. One for each of those victims. That is why we're all here today. Let's just try and do it little by little.
And it's I actually joined Facebook because of this movement. I was very anti-Facebook and I didn't want to do it, and I finally joined. There's a list going around now of 18 senators federally that are swinging on the background checks. So if you put that on Facebook and your friends that live in North Dakota or Colorado or Indiana can see that, and that's the way that.
Can I just say, though, I would also love it to get the information in email. I like you guys on Facebook, and I follow you, but you know, we get so much stuff on Facebook, sometimes it's hard to find it, so an email for me would be much more effective.
Sure, and we have an email list, and you know, send me emails, you can message me, you can put it down there. We're all spreading the word as much as we can, and you know, the more people that you then send that email on to, you know, even if one of those 26 that time say, okay, this is a good thing, let me do that too, we've won another person. So, over to her.
Well, you're basically giving my speech. I mean, but I'm very excited to talk about this because there's so many things that everyone's brought up tonight, from sharing their stories to contacting your legislators, that I'm like, yes, social media. So I'm here to proselytize for social media. I'll give you kind of a little bit of the how at the very end, and people who want to. I wish we had a visual so I could kind of do it here, but since I don't, you can come over and see it. But I think I want to address a little bit more of the why from the outset, because I think there have been a lot of people who are like, I just don't want to do Facebook, or I don't know what that Twitter thing is, but I think it is really important. So I'm going to talk about social media in general, but especially with a focus on Twitter, which is, it's just so important right now. Twitter is essentially a news feed, and it's just a new way of getting your news, but just think of it as a news feed. And this is how people are consuming their information now, particularly a younger demographic. And it is so powerful, and I think that we have seen this from everything from the gay marriage initiative to Obama's election to the Arab Spring. It's a new way of connecting people. And I think one of my I think people, during the whole Arab Spring thing, there was a lot of stories about how social media had played this role. And one of the freedom fighters or something, his quote was, we use Facebook to schedule the protests, we use Twitter to coordinate, and we use YouTube to show the world. And it was tremendous because it's a way of connecting people on common thoughts, common movements, common ideas, but that might not be next door to each other. And I think that after Newtown and Sandy Hook, I think it was really a game changer for the gun responsibility, I don't want to say gun control, movement. And I think that is how I follow the story. I have 2 children, and when that story happened, I got involved after this, and I volunteered. I said, what can I do to help? I'm a social media person. What can I do to help get the word out? But I think you're watching the stories. You're watching. It's so personal. You know, we saw the pictures of all those kids. But also, I had my friends on Facebook are saying, we're in Connecticut. My school's on lockdown. My in-laws live 10 miles from Sandy Hook. And so it becomes much more personal because suddenly you have these connections, and everyone is impacted. And somebody's sister works at that school, and somebody's kid. His cousin was killed. So I think it's incredibly important. Also, I think people should be aware that the NRA is terrified of of social media, because together we are much bigger than the gun lobby. And I'm with that person over here who said that I'm in awe of the NRA's political savvy and their organization. And yet, so suddenly we have a way that people can be bigger than that, because there are more people who are in support of these things. We just need to all pull them together, and we needed a story like Newtown to do it. So anyway, as far as Twitter, you're watching things that happen minute by minute. And also the Roosevelt shooting was another one that's right near my house, and I followed that whole news feed because suddenly, there was a hashtag, and that's a way of organizing information on Twitter, Roosevelt shooting. And it was like happening, real time, because I was running, someone's like, quick, go get your kids, the school's in lockdown, and I'm, following it. We get our information now, it's on our phone. We don't have to read a newspaper, we don't have to read our laptop. I'm going, oh my God, my kid's school's in lockdown, I gotta go get them. And people are going, here's the SWAT team in my backyard, they're running through. And you're seeing the pictures are coming up, and it's just a very powerful way of getting information. It's also the way that I learn things, so that I think that people need to realize that social media is for information, but also engagement. It is a dialogue, not a monologue, unlike a newspaper or whatever. So people can respond. So you can tweet, hey, I'm going to be supporting this, and someone can say, well, I don't understand. Why would you support that? That doesn't make any sense, or I'm against this. And I think we saw that in the brilliant gay marriage campaign. I mean, they sent out stories, and they showed pictures of, here are your neighbors, and here, and it kind of, people were able to engage, and it really did move that needle, as you were saying, of saying, oh, I think I'm kind of against that, that's, maybe, or those are, look at those cute, two old ladies who've been together for 60 years, and it moved the needle. And I think that it's going to move the needle on gun violence. Also, tremendous fundraising potential. I don't know if you know that organization called Charity Water, which brings water to developing nations. They, Twitter just ran their fundraiser, and again, getting information out, telling people, hey, do you know that these developing nations need water? Do you know this, here's the facts, here's what $100 can do. And again, instead of it's a different model, rather than going to big donors and saying, we need $1 million donation for this, or we need foundation money for this. They had 30,000 individuals donate $8 million in 2 weeks, but it's all kind of on an individual basis, but it's kind of pooling everybody together under one idea. I'm also, as we were talking today, I'm embarrassed to say that I never knew Mike Hope's name until last week. And I found out on Facebook because I'm following, our organization, I'm following Brady Campaign, I'm following all these organizations that are interesting to me. And you can do this on Facebook, but also on Twitter. So I'm following Brady Buzz, I'm following the Coalition Stop Gun Violence. And then when the organization sends out Facebook that says, hey, send Mike Hope a thank you for doing this, I'm like, wow, I did not know about that. And also, I'm traveling on business. I didn't get to go down to Olympia, but here's a way that I can follow my news feed from people and say, oh, look, this House bill is being voted on, or here, oh, they're talking to these people. And sending out the information, not everybody knows who their legislator is. Not everybody knows who's voting on something. I follow all of my elected officials. I follow the governor. I follow the White House. And so I can comment when they post things, and I can say, hey, I agree with you, I disagree with you. Sometimes I get response, sometimes I don't. But again, that's the engagement and the dialogue. And what everyone was saying here as far as, hey, contact your sister-in-law. If you want to find somebody, everybody knows somebody in Spokane. That maybe it's not on their radar that, hey, you need to contact your legislator about this. A lot of these things were not on my radar, but when someone, when a personal friend, when I read in the newspaper, oh, you should contact your so-and-so about what, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But when my college roommate sends me a little message and says, hey, this is happening and your legislator's doing this, I'm like, oh, I better do it because my roommate's doing it. But maybe it brings it to my attention that I didn't know about before. So I think that social media is just an unbelievable tool, and I just hope everyone will get on. And you do not have to, I think people have this, oh gosh, I'm going to be inundated by cat videos. And there's a way to avoid that. So on Twitter, I follow who I want to follow, from the New York Times to my legislators, whatever. And I think you just have to learn how to curate your information, and that's where hashtags come in. And that's where, the people who are following hashtag funny cat videos are going to be different than the people who are following hashtag gun sense. the people who are following hashtag demand a plan. And that, I would show people if they don't know this, but a hashtag is like a little pound sign. We use that on the keyboard. And this was, it was not something that Twitter developed. It was something that people started using to say, you know, hey, if you follow the Mariners, you know, say, hey, go M's, hashtag Mariners. If you follow the Sounders, you know, if you're into, I'm the editor of Outdoors Northwest Magazine. There's a hashtag #CBikes that's just Seattle bicyclists, and it's all the news about Seattle bicycling that you want to follow, and that's how I organize that information. So when you're on Twitter, you follow who you want to follow, but then you can use these hashtags to kind of say, I want to follow gun legislation, I want to follow the Mariners, I want to follow whatever it is. But tremendous amount of information is coming out that way. And I think most people are, you know, they just need a way to organize that. People want to be involved in reducing gun violence, and sometimes they just don't have the information. And I think it's our job as organizations to put it out there and say, hey, this is coming up for a vote, or hey, this is what's going on in Washington, or, you know, or God forbid, you know, here, there's another shooting that happened down in so-and-so. I know there's one person on Twitter that I'm following, it's called Gun Deaths Since Sandy Hook, and literally, no, all they do is report on every shooting and gun death that has happened since Sandy Hook. And no one has really kind of done this cumulative, you know, approach to it. And it's kind of, it's fascinating. There's tons of follows, but they find every you know, act of violence around the country, and it's really startling. So I think that you have more of this information, and then you can retweet it and send it back out to your followers to let them know, hey, do you know that this many people have died since Sandy Hook? I mean, we're all outraged about, you know, this many children and people who died, but do you know how many hundreds who have died since then? I mean, that was something that was eye-opening to me. I did not know. Let's see what else. I think that's it. I think that this is how we are going to change the conversation, and I think that if everyone wants to know what can I do today, I think this is one thing you can do today. You can get on Facebook, you can get on Twitter, and start sending out information and learning information yourself, and getting more tied in to your elected officials, to the various groups you're interested in, and also even groups that are on the other side, kind of see what they're doing. But basically, it's just another great way to be telling our stories, getting information out there, and pulling together. I think it really was a game changer, and I think I think that the people are going to change the movement, and our voices are going to be heard. But we just have to all pull together.
I want to thank Hillary. She thought she was going to be talking to maybe 8 people in somebody's living room. So I really appreciate you stepping up and doing this.
So she has a computer there. If you want to see what a hashtag looks like, if you want to see how to tweet, go and check it out. And thank you so much to everybody.
I just say one thing. I just joined Facebook, but after learning about the Twitter sphere, or whatever it is, now after I sign something, I not only post it to Facebook, but I tweet it. And it's right there, and it's just one extra second. But I never knew that we needed a presence there. So click the tweet button and it's done. It's quick.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming. We're pretty much at the beginning of a really big movement, and we're about 30 years behind in organizing. But we can organize really fast. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
And